I'm Irwin Gotlieb. I'm the global chairman of GroupM here at CES with the ARF.
Can you talk a little bit about what you saw this year, or your take?
If you talk to all the pundits, they're out there to analyze and rate the shiny new objects. That's not what we do, right? By the way, it's not like I have an aversion to shiny objects, but we're not in the business of talking about shiny objects. And the truth of the matter is, if you look at the track record of most of the pundits out there, right? The top 10 this or the top 10 that or the best in show of this, how many of those things actually, A, made it to market? Mm-hmm. And how many of them made it to market and didn't crash and burn on day one, right? Mm-hmm. And so we stopped looking at it from that angle many, many years ago. I doubt that we ever actually looked at it that way.
What's your approach?
Our approach is, what does it mean? How can it evolve?
Implications.
Yeah, what are the implications?
Smart.
And what's it going to look like in 2 years, in 5 years, in 7 years? What does it mean?
So you're actually thinking
what
about...
does it mean to the business?
Yes.
And because I'm a media guy, we look at marketing implications, mm-hmm. and we look at media implications, right?
So you're prognosticating whether it's going to be around in 5 years yourself,
I'm
looking at
prognosticating on the shape of the technology, mm-hmm. in 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I can give you examples. If
yeah,
you'd
please.
Like. We looked at this technology which essentially used I'm going to call it a spraying device, to apply nanocrystals, electrosensitive nanocrystals, to a clear sheet of mylar. And essentially that became the television panel. Mm. You sandwich that mylar between two pieces of glass.
Yeah.
And you put a processor on it, you put a power supply on it, you light it, and you're there, right? And we predicted that that technology had the potential to shave 60 to 70% of the cost out of manufacture. The tolerances were quite achievable, right? The old production methodologies, achieving tolerances was painfully difficult, which is why the cost of screens went up almost exponentially as they got larger. We predicted that screens would get cheaper, they would get bigger, they would get better. Well, that sounds really good, unless you're an electronic manufacturer. And if you are an electronic manufacturer and you anticipate that your cost per unit is going to drop to 1/3 of its current price, you either sell 3 times as many or your top line goes down, right?
Yep.
And by the way, as your unit cost drops, you become commoditized and your margins shrink. Absolutely. And so what do you do to preserve both your top line and your profits? Well, you push it up market. And so you start giving people things that they don't necessarily, they've never asked for, mm-hmm. they don't need, mm-hmm. right? By the way, that was true even before quantum dot. If you looked at 3D TV, for example, right? We were the ones who sat there and said, nobody's going to sit in their living room with
those glasses
on. Those glasses on, right? By the way,
what do you think of ocular roof? What do you think of that?
Are you going to sit in your living room with a helmet on your head going like this?
I'm actually on our website right now with one of those on our filmed television city. Okay. Yes, it's quite mortifying.
Isn't it? Yes. Right? And by the way, you have to kind of...
I did like the experience, though.
Yeah, but well, it depends on the content you looked at. Yeah. Right?
Well, it was a fashion show. It was like Fashion Week. Oh, okay. It was pretty cool.
Well, Sci-Fi has a great one. It's all rendered.
Skydiving,
and it's incredibly expensive to do at the moment. I think eventually there are enormous applications for it. Mm-hmm. I think today there are applications for it in gaming. Mm-hmm. You know, full immersion.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
But I don't see it as, I mean, by the way, 3D did gain some adoption. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't significant enough to become material.
Irwin, I really like that example a lot because it definitely does what you said. You talked about the business implications, you talked about projecting out into the future, and not just whether you thought it was going to spark or not, but why or why not. So 2016, what do you predict?
For us, 2016 is about really pushing the industry to do things. you know, coming back to the earlier comment I made, the role of media and the value of media and everything associated with media, the research that supports it and all that, is at some level when the role of media is to create awareness, right? Clients consider it a cost item, sometimes a foolish expense. The role of media as an awareness creator is at some level, right? It values media based on its ability to create awareness. But when media morphs to virtual shelf space, when media becomes transaction capable, then it becomes a cost of sale. It becomes cost of distribution. And if you can show directly that media is actually moving product, its value skyrockets.
Irwin Gotlieb,
pleasure.
So lovely to spend time with you. Congratulations on your really clear and crisp take as to how we should be facing the future. You just fearlessly embrace change, and you have been such an advocate for the measurement industry. And you know, that's at the end of the day, that's what we're all about at the ARF, is really improving measurement, but translating it into growth. And making sure that we help our member companies grow their brands. And so I want to
that's a tribute to you guys as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.